Morning, councillors. Councillors, CEO, directors, ladies and gentlemen, welcome. Let's start by acknowledging the traditional custodians of this wonderful place that we call home. And in our valley, representing the oldest living culture on the planet, that's the Iwi people. So as a council and as a community, when we're together, we recognise their traditional custodianship and honour the elders, past, present, and those emerging. Welcome to our online audience, welcome to the members of the public in our gallery today. The meeting is being streamed live, and I'll draw your attention to the top right end of the screen there. This is being streamed live and is recorded and will be published in accordance with the Council's standing orders. So if you're here as a member of the public, you are participating in this meeting and therefore you're consenting to your image and voice if you are registered to speak, and comments being published and recorded in accordance with the Council's standing orders. So thank you very much. I'll declare the meeting open. We have one councillor away, we'll deal with that shortly. And welcome to our new secretary. Katrina will go as slowly as possible to make sure that you get this done. Okay. So we've got a new pastor here today to deliver the welcome. Pastor Paul Hicks. Paul, thank you very much for coming along. Would you lead us in prayer, please?
First of all, I may just thank you all for allowing me to do this. It is an incredible honour, for which I'm very grateful for you. Whatever side you sit on in a religious perspective, could you just accept my thanks for the honour of being here? Dear Heavenly Father, we come to you in prayer this morning. A group of men and women who just love serving our community. Heavenly Father, may you bless this meeting. May this meeting be of grace, mercy, wisdom, knowledge, all the aspirations that were in your Son, Jesus Christ. We thank you for Jesus on a cross that allows us to be in a relationship with you. And I pray for each and every one here today on the council serving this community, Heavenly Father. We grant them this day the courage, the wisdom, the intensity, the sense of justice that you provide. Heavenly Father, may we have a meeting today that is full of the grace of God, full of the mercy of God, full of the wisdom of your Heavenly Father. And Father, we come to this morning and declare the meeting open in the name of Jesus Christ. Amen.
Amen. Thank you, Pastor Hicks. Thanks very much. Nobody absent on council business, an apology from Councillor Mann. Councillor Mann has called in sick today, so we register her apology. Councillor Hassan and seconded by Councillor Jones. Those in favour? Any against? The motion's carried. Thank you. Condolences. Councillor Hassan.
On Monday of this week, I was honoured to conduct the funeral service of the late Lynette Laffin. Lynn was actually born in Gladstone in 1950 and later to move to Mackay after marrying and having her children. Lynn actually contracted polio at the age of just 12 months, which left her with lifelong disabilities. She endured many operations over the years, but she never let her disability stop her from living her life. Her strength and determination inspired everyone who knew her. I wanted to particularly acknowledge Lynn's contribution to our community. She was a volunteer lifeline counsellor, dedicated over 35 years of her life to the Girl Guides, and in 2013 won both the Queensland Inspiring Women Speakers Award and a Mackay Citizen of the Year. This resulted in her being featured with two of her granddaughters on the front of the phone book at the time, and she was just incredibly proud of that. Lynn regularly took in kids who had fallen through the gaps in the system and loved teaching others her craft skills, which included crochet, knitting and sewing. At her funeral, her family told everybody she has 4 wardrobes full of craft to give away if anyone's interested. She was involved with many clubs, including the ukulele club, scrapbooking and patchwork. She really just welcomed everyone and ensured they felt loved and safe no matter where they came from or where they were going. Despite her disability, Lynn and her beloved husband of 56 years, Ron, travelled around Australia in a caravan while she was confined to a wheelchair. She really did live her life to the fullest. She was very much loved and respected, and I know she'll be sadly missed. I'd like to pass on our condolences to all of Lynn's family.
Thank you very much, Councillor Hasman. Any further condolences? Thank you very much. Conflicts of interest, anybody have conflicts of interest to declare? Thanks, Councillor Jones, I've got yours, thank you. No further conflicts of interest. Agenda item 7, the confirmation of the minutes of the 25th of October. Those have been circulated. Somebody like to move them be adopted? Councillor Green moves, seconded by Councillor Hassan. Those in favour? Any against? The motion's carried. Business arising out of that in agenda item 8. There's only one matter, 11.4.2 of the last agenda, and that was a response to a question asked by Councillor Bonaventure. You happy with that, Councillor Bonaventure?
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Okay. 10.1 is the local disaster management group minutes of the 10th of October meeting. I think they're fairly well self-explanatory. That was a meeting that focused mainly on bushfire preparedness. Any questions? Somebody like to move them? We adopt it. Councillor May moves, seconded by Councillor Engler. Councillor May.
Thank you very much, Your Worship. Just the minutes of the meeting, I suppose, draw attention to the overview of the bushfire season from QFIS. They gave a fairly comprehensive update at the meeting, and that was then followed by a very good report that our officers did on a more localised level, looking at the risks that are associated with bushfires in the upcoming season. So I really just wanted to draw those 2 points out, very important points for the committee's consideration.
Thank you very much, Councillor May. Speaker against? Any other speakers? I'll put that motion. Those in favour? Any against? Motion's carried. Thank you. So, 10.2. There we go, Katrina, we're right. The draft minutes of the Sustainability Advisory Committee meeting, and that was held on the 3rd of November. Any questions around this? No questions? Somebody like to move its adoption? Councillor May moves. Councillor Jones second. Councillor May.
Thank you very much, Worship. Again, just a couple of points out of the meeting. The 2 presentations that we had, a very good presentation of our greening strategy. The members of the advisory committee were very impressed with the amount of work that council has done in this space, and very brave and bold to actually set targets that we're going to meet within that strategy. And then Katrina Dent gave an update on the activities of reef catchments, as well as all of the members contributed to around the table conversation. One of the consistent feedback that I get from this meeting from the stakeholders is that ability to share information and keep each other up to date, learn from the mistakes that some, that you may have made along the way, with the view of, making things better into the future and working together.
Thank you very much. Speaker against? Any other speakers? Put that motion. Those in favour? Any against? Motion's carried. Thank you. 10.3, draft minutes of the Heritage Reference Group on the 30th of October. Councillor Mann is the chair of this, but she's away. Are there questions around this? Somebody like to move its adoption? Councillor May, seconded by Councillor Jones. Councillor May.
Again, a good meeting of the advisory, the reference group. A number of matters were discussed at the meeting. It's always very good to have the input from the community into these specific areas of council. So the members there, again, contributed greatly to the conversation, and the minutes are there for adoption.
Thank you. Speaker against? Any other speakers? No other speakers will put that motion. Those in favour? Any against? The motion's carried. Let's move on to correspondence and officers' report. Also, the Mayor and CEO, my monthly report is attached, and 11.1.1. Does anybody have any questions? Any questions? I'd like to move that report. Can I get a second? Councillor Hassan seconds. And there's any need to speak to it. I think it's fairly well self-explanatory. I'll put that motion in. Those in favour? Any against? Motion's carried. Thank you. 11.1.2, Chief Executive Officer's monthly report for October, CEO.
Thanks, Matt. Just a quick standout for October is in our Mackay team, who took out the 6th gold award in Mackay's of tourism, and also our Serena Sugar Shed taking out gold and 2 silver awards as well. And also just to highlight, our friends of the Mac also took out a gold for the invaluable volunteering work that they do. So just want to commend them for you. Thank you.
Yeah. Questions for the CEO? Councillor Ballard?
I noted the highlights, access ladders fabricated installed on dog trailers, and having used that sort of thing, I appreciate the necessity for them. The diagrams are actually very illuminating. My question is, and I may not be able to answer, but just for my interest down the track, storage of those ladders while in transit, where are they to be stored? Are we having wherever they can be put and secured, or is there a receptacle as such for those ladders? Yeah, that's probably about all on that particular point.
My initial answer would be that they would have been designed in accordance with Australian design standards, and therefore there'll be an appropriate place to safely secure them to the truck. But I'll find out and get a bit more detail and send that round.
That would be good.
A secondary question, Councillor Miller?
It's another question, but I'm quite happy to pass along.
No, fine, go ahead.
Just if we can get a little bit of a comment on our staffing contingent, just the vacancy situation, to be honest, we have actually improved in our total vacancies. Just to have a quick overview of what strategies we're adopting to get that. And probably my main concern is with regard to standard. Like obviously we need employees, but are we maintaining standards with regard to abilities, qualifications, and that sort of thing?
Yeah.
As with the rest of the region, resources are incredibly difficult to come by, and I guess my comment would be, whilst and all times when there's vacancies, we have a continuous improvement approach. It's opportune to review the need and requirement for that particular role and that level of skill that we're actually seeking, and whether the role can be done in a different way or what that might mean. So there's strategies that happen inside our HR team in terms of working with the business to find out, is that still the right thing we need? Yes, we've had it for a long time, but is it still required? And I guess from a broader point of view, we're currently looking at options around how we might recruit further afield. What are these roles that can work remotely if required? How do we attract the talent? Because if we don't attract the talent, we'll be in a not favourable position. So there's continuous work happening in that space, and that's right the way from reviewing positions through to even looking at council becoming sponsors of visas, as example, for additional skill where we currently don't have at the moment in some of our more high critical areas due to the tenure of staff, the risk that presents at a point in time. So.
Thank you.
Ladies and gentlemen, just please make sure your phones are on silent. Thanks. Any further questions for the CEO? Councillor Bonaventura?
Thank you, Your Worship. Page 109, the top of 109, the economic indicators, quarterly indicators. I was having a read through that, and that bottom one for lots registered. Is that per quarter, like September quarter 75, June quarter 74? Is that per quarter or per month? It just seems low.
Director?
Yeah, thank you, Your Worship. From the way the data is presented, that's the way it appears. Unfortunately, I haven't been able to confirm with the officer that sources that data, so I'll have to take that on notice.
Thank you.
CEO?
Well, my comment was going to be just given that it's June through to September, that is a quarter, but I'll get a leader to confirm.
Thank you.
Further questions? Somebody would like to move the report? Councillor Hassan moves, second by Councillor Townsend. Councillor Hassan.
It's a very comprehensive report.
Okay, thank you. There's no speakers, I'll put that motion.
Oh, thank you.
The one who's speaking for the report.
Thank you, Your Worship. Just a couple of words. Firstly, the Cotches Road culvert replacement. It's one I did speak with the director about, and I'm pleased to see it's going well. There's a great photo in the report. But just in relation to that low vacancy in housing, we're down at residential vacancy rates of 0.5%. That is extremely low. In fact, over the whole past 12-month period, it's been 1% or below. And the moment you get below that 1%, there basically is nowhere to go. And I couch that in relation to the fact that the lots registered for the year, the new lots registered for the year, if you add those total up for the last year, it's just over 200. We are never going to keep pace at this rate. We really need to find a way. If those numbers are correct, and which the director and obviously CEO will give me at some stage, but we need to find a way of improving that, because at that rate there, we are falling behind, I believe. So just a word of caution. Thank you.
Thanks, Councillor Bonaventura. We've got about, as you've heard from our briefing, about 4,800 approved lots in Mackay. The extra ones that have been registered would add to that figure. So there's quite a lot of approvals. We just don't have the builders building on them. Councillor Green?
Yes, thank
You
you.
speaking for or against?
Speaking for.
Thank you.
I just wanted to highlight on page 101, the RADF grants that were approved in the last round. So with the RADF grant funding, we actually do welcome return recipients of the funding, and I'd like to point out Fiona Floor, for example. So through the grant funding over time and with the mentorship, etc., she's able to start to take on more of an economic focus with her work now, and so building her capacity and her capabilities as an artist, and to create that economic opportunity around the mountain bike trails. So I just wanted to point out that is one of the ways that the RADF funding grant works, is to actually bring our artists along on the journey. But we also have new ones in there that are really exciting. So the Innovative Disability Employment and Liaison Association, so ideal placements, there's a really interesting grant opportunity, sorry, not grant opportunity, but project opportunity in there as well. So the RADF funding is superb, and it's going really well, and I really enjoy seeing return recipients but also new recipients.
Thanks, Councillor Green. Are there any other speakers? Right, Councillor England, you're speaking for.
Yeah, thanks, Mayor. Look, I just wanted to point out that the good work that officers have done with regards to distributing the Christmas grants through our entire community. We've got Grass Tree Beach, Serena Midge Point, Armstrong Beach, Serena Beach, Northern Beaches, Habana, St Helens, McEwen's, Kalen, Pioneer Valley, and the Mackay City Band have all been successful in obtaining those grants. So I think it's another great thing that we've been able to do in the lead up to the holiday season.
Yeah. Thanks very much, Councillor England. Councillor Seymour.
Yes,
Speaking for, I take it.
yeah, I'm speaking for yes. I'm just also on the community grants too. These grants are assessed on individuals. They are assessed to make volunteers' life easier in community, and also to ease the burden of trying to fundraise. So this is one good part that always comes forward this time of year. There is a lot to go through, but there is some big grants, and I just urge people in the community to make advantage of them through the community grants. So thank you.
Thanks very much, Councillor Seymour. Although there was no negatives, Councillor Hassan, you're welcome to wrap it up if you want.
No, thank you, Your Worship.
Put that motion then. Those in favour? Any against? Motion's carried unanimously. Thank you. 11.1.3, the 2022-23 audited financial statements. The idea of this, of course, is to present to Council upon the finalisation of our external audit for 22-23. Director.
Thank you, Worship. I'm pleased to present to you today the audited financial statements for last financial year. They've been reviewed by the Audit Committee and issued an unmodified audit opinion by the Auditor General. The financial statements show that Council reported a $4.3 million operating deficit for the period, with the net result, which includes both operating and capital income and expenditure, being a surplus of $36.7 million. This result is different from the estimated end position for last financial year, due to a revision in how we treat provision for landfill remediation works. Following advice from a recent review of our landfill remediation model and past practices, we realised we'd understated the operational costs recognised in past periods. This has now been corrected, and we've since restated relevant items within past financial statements so they reflect appropriate operational costs. This is a correction to a provision, so has not impacted our cash balances. We've also updated our opening position for the current financial year, which was adopted by Council last meeting as part of the September budget review. At the same time, we've revised our 10-year long-term financial forecast, which shows we continue to meet financial indices benchmarks for the 10-year period. This information was also included for you in the September budget review, and will continue to be included in all budget review periods moving forwards, so that you're able to maintain ongoing visibility and confidence with Council in regard to our financial sustainability.
Thank you. Director, questions? Councillor Bella.
As mentioned by the Director, and under resource implications, Council reported $4.3 million operating deficit for 22-23, with the net result being a surplus of $36.7 million. Could the Director please explain for the councillors and for people that are watching this meeting how we can declare a deficit and yet have a surplus?
Okay, Director.
Thank you, Worship. the 4.3 deficit noted is an operating outcome. So that is just doing some straight math of all of the revenue we received minus the operating expenditure for council, left us in a position of 4.3 deficit. The overall net position is a more holistic measure. So that's also taking into account our capital program as well. So that's looking at the operational income and expenditure and also the operating expense associated with the capital program and any grants that are received from the capital program as well. That combines to give us our net position.
Thank you. Thanks very much. Further questions? No further questions, so I'd like to move that we adopt the audited financial statements for 22-23. Councillor Townsend moves, Councillor Jones seconds. Councillor Townsend.
Thank you. I think it's a very comprehensive report. I have gone through it. Facts and figures do my head in at times, but I think we can all say thank you for the information provided.
Thank you very much, Councillor Townsend. Speaker against? Any other speakers? Put that motion. Those in favour? Any against? Motion's carried unanimously. Thank you. The adoption now of our 2022-2023 annual report. Director, is that you? You're good. Sorry, Director. CEO.
Thanks, Mayor. Since November, I'm certainly proud to have led our 1,100 staff in pursuit of completing last year's plan. And the plan not only shows the dedication and passion that we have within our workforce, but also that this council is about more than road rates and rubbish. And I look forward to completing the next year's also.
Thanks, CEO. Questions for the CEO? That's a good report, actually. It's an excellent report. So congratulations to everybody who's put that together. Congratulations to the team, of course, led by the CEO. It's been a pretty big year. All right. Somebody like to move? Councillor Townsend moves. Councillor May seconds. Councillor Townsend.
Thank you, Worship. Firstly, congratulations again to our corporate communications and marketing team for a very well designed and professionally written report that highlights some key achievements for this past year. Quite often we get caught up in the day-to-day business and we don't stop to look back at our accomplishments, and we have achieved much. Who could believe that a year ago the Animal Management Centre opened its doors? This has increased the care for our abandoned animals and will ensure the facility will continue to meet the needs of the community well into the future. Seaforth Esplanade has been redeveloped and the new recreation hub is a delight for families young and old. I encourage anyone who hasn't yet visited this little patch of paradise to pack up the family, go for a scenic drive and take the day to enjoy the facilities on offer. Art Space celebrated its 20th birthday, and over those 20 years, the facility has welcomed more than 600,000 visitors and showcased 343 exhibitions. Our library services continue to be well supported by our community and recently launched the Words for Wellbeing collection, which is a great partnership and service which includes the Queensland Public Health Network and Isaac and Whitsunday councils. Health professionals in our region can now provide specialised services to their patients with quality assured resources endorsed by local health experts. Our libraries continue to amaze me with their innovative and unique services that go way beyond book loans. I hope I've whetted everybody's appetite to visit our website and read for themselves this jam-packed report that highlights not only statistics but so much more. It's a worthy read and it will assure you council is so much more than roads, rates and rubbish. However, that is still a very important part of our services. And lastly, none of this can be achieved without the hard work and dedication from our over 1,000 dedicated staff. And I, along with councillors, thank you for your contribution to a great year.
Okay, thanks very much, Councillor Townsend. Are there any other speakers to this report? No other speakers then, I'll put that motion. Those in favour? Any against? The motion is carried unanimously. 11.1.5, the adoption of council policies. There's three policies to adopt and one to rescind. Councillor Bella, you want to move a procedural motion?
Yeah, I'd like to move a motion to lay these on the table. I believe that basically policies are the rule book or the instruction manual for our council. to receive them on a Friday and then make the decision on a Wednesday, I don't think shows enough respect for these motions. There was
That's a
intent.
procedural motion to lay it on the table. Those in favour? Any against? The motion's carried unanimously. Thank you. They will lay on the table now, and we'll look to the CEO to bring them back at the appropriate time after briefings have been had. 11.1.6 operational plan for 2023-2024. This is the first quarter report, CEO.
Thanks, Mayor. Being the first quarter, not unexpectedly, only a small number of actions are completed, but more than 68% are on target and 13% ongoing. Just demonstrates the first quarter of achievements, recognising that also a number of actions aren't due to be complete until the end of the current year. So not only have they not started, but they won't start until such time when they fall in line with the priority of that work. So other than that, a self-explanatory report.
Thank you very much. Questions? No questions? Okay. So we'd like to move the report's adoption, please. Councillor Hassan moves, seconded by Councillor Townsend. Councillor Hassan.
Thank you, Worship. I didn't have anything prepared. I'm going to move the report. I think the CEO has covered that really well, the operational plan. I'm actually really impressed with this plan that's been put in place going forward. I think it'll be really great to see those things being ticked off. As the CEO said, it's only the first quarter. They've achieved really great results so far, and I look forward to that continuing on through the financial year.
Thanks very much, Councillor Hassan. Speaker against? Any other speakers? Up with that motion. Those in favour? Any against? Motion's carried unanimously. Thank you very much. Let's move on now to planning, growth and sustainability. 11.4.1, the facilitating development of the Mackay region policy, the exercise of this policy. This is a material change of use for multiple dwellings at 419 Shakespeare Street. So the application is under the facilitating development policy. Director, is there anything you want to add to this?
No, just thank you, Worship. Just that this application under the policy complies with the policy. It's great to see some more multiple dwelling proposals coming through, and this is for 4 3-bedroom townhouses. So great outcome.
Very good. Questions? No questions? Somebody like to move the report's adoption? Councillor Englert moves, seconded by Councillor Townsend. Councillor Englert.
Thank you, Worship. This is a great example of what this policy is actually designed to do. We've had discussions this morning that there is significant lack of affordable rentals and homes available within our community. This policy encourages developers to build sites that can hold multiple dwellings. The policy allows a reduction in the infrastructure costs, which incentivises them the same way that other regional centres do, as in Townsville, Rockhampton, Gladstone. So we have buildings going up in Mackay where everyone else is really suffering. So this is a good application policy, and I recommend it.
Thank you very much, Councillor Englert. Speaker against? Are there any other speakers? Councillor Seymour, speaking for.
Yeah, this is one area where, like I said, a policy does come in, like infrastructure, because to me, this is what Mackay needs. It's a small developer putting up houses quickly so that you've got roofs over heads. It's not a multi, like 25 or 26 units, it's a small bedrooms. So this is what we try to encourage through the policy, and hopefully there is more developers out there that will follow in the footsteps, and hopefully the state government will learn from what is going on, that all we need is small developments, not massive ones, in designated areas around this area. So thank you.
Thanks, Councillor Seymour. Are there any other speakers? I'll put that motion. Those in favour? Any against? The motion's carried unanimously. Thank you. 11.4.2, another facilitating development policy decision. This is an MCU for multiple dwellings again in 7 English Street, South of Mackay. Director, is there anything further?
Thank you, Worship. Just that this time it's 2 dual occupancy units. It's an NDIS development, but it is being approved as multiple dwellings. So again, a good outcome.
Questions? Very well straightforward, this one. Somebody like to move? Councillor Green moves, seconded by Councillor Hassan. Councillor Green.
Just briefly, the same sentiments as the previous report, just adding to that extra overlay that it's providing that much needed accommodation for our people requiring higher independent living needs. Great outcome. Thank you.
Speaker against? Any other speakers? I'll put that motion. Those in favour? Any against? The motion's carried unanimously. Thank you. 11.4.3, a decision to make and prepare a temporary local planning instrument for Finch Hatton. under the flood hazard regulations. Councillor Jones.
Thank you, Worship. I'd like to declare a conflict of interest.
Thank you. Councillor Jones's conflict of interest is noted. Councillor Jones has left the discussion. All right, so Director, is there anything further you need to, we've had briefings on this one, of course. Is there anything further you need to add at this stage?
Thank you, Worship. I was just going to say, we have had a number of briefings. We have been progressing through the major amendment process for the Finch, Hatton and Youngla townships. As part of that, this issue of flood hazard has been identified. In conjunction, we're also undertaking a flood study for that area. So this is really an interim measure to address that flood hazard while we progress both those other elements.
We've had multiple briefings around it. Are there any questions? No questions? All right, would somebody like to move then? We make and prepare a TLPI 01/2023. Councillor May moves, seconded by Councillor England. Councillor May.
Thank you very much, Worship. This is a good interim measure, as the Director said. The flood overlay and the development of that within the flood study will give some extra guidance, but this is like it says, it's a temporary measure. Council has the ability to make a temporary planning instrument, and this should be supported.
Thank you very much. Speaker against? Any other speakers? I'll put that motion. Those in favour? Any against? The motion's carried unanimously. Next, I'll get Councillor Jones back in. Thanks, Councillor Jones.
Thank you.
11.4.4, activate my place report. This is an application review and a recommendation included in this agenda item. Director, anything further?
Thank you, Worship. This is just bringing the outcome of the latest Activate My Place, or AMP, grant program to Council. We've got 3 very worthy recipients of the grants outlined, and it's recommended that the grant funding be awarded as outlined.
Great, it's great to see those projects, isn't it? It's a very good report. Okay, questions at all? No questions at all? Somebody like to move the report's adoption? Councillor Green moves, seconded by Councillor May. Councillor Green.
Thank you. Yes, this is the Activate My Place program, a grant program. It is fantastic, and I'm really pleased as well to see the 3 that have been recommended this time round, particularly out into our regions, which I'll get to. But the Mackay City Heart Collective Be Mindful mural project for $12,170. We know, and the data tells us that that murals and street art helps to increase feelings of safety, activate those spaces, and increase livability, and also decrease criminal activity. And we've seen that clearly in our own community. Great to have another mural space within our CBD that connects to the Wood Street Park, so I can really see some really fantastic activation events occurring. Grass Tree Beach Progress Association, they do this well. Grass Tree Grooves, $7,000. So across 3 Saturday evenings that's planned on the foreshore to have pop-up bars, eateries, performance artists, and some local talent to show off their skills as well there. So festoon lighting and seating, I think that's going to be a fantastic result for that community across those 3 evenings. And Rebecca Cooper, for the Northern Beaches Community Activation program she's put together, totaling $10,829, a 9-day event to be held across the Northern Beaches to highlight local businesses, services and activities to really foster community connection in one of our fastest growing regions of Mackay. And further on to that is to establish for 6 weeks a community play group with the hope that this community-driven initiative will actually stay in place after the 6 weeks are over, just again to create that connection and a sense of place within the Northern Beaches community while we await the completion of the Community Hub. 3 incredibly worthy programs, and I support the officer's recommendation.
Thanks, Councillor Green. Speaker against? Any other speakers? No other speakers. I'll put that motion. Those in favour? Any against? The motion is carried unanimously. Thank you. Corporate Services, under 11.6, 11.6.1, the Strategic Financial Report for October 2023. Director.
Thank you, Worship. So the attached report provides an overview of current budget position and known variances as at the end of October. While materials and services and finance costs are the most significant variances for the period, both can be attributed to how the budget's been spread for those items and are expected to come back in line with budget in coming months. We do note, however, an ongoing risk with operational expenditure and will continue to monitor this closely. We hold a reasonable cash balance and investment mix, with our investment portfolio currently returning just over 5% at the moment. Happy to take any questions.
Thanks very much, Director. Questions for the Director? That's good. Great to see that investment, 5% returns at the moment from whence we have come. There's no questions. Would somebody like to move the report's adoption? Councillor May moves, seconded by Councillor Hassan. Councillor May.
Thank you very much, Worship. And again, this is just our first quarter of the strategic financial report. It's challenging. You know, we know the environment in which we operate. The cost to deliver projects has to be monitored closely, and to be sitting just at $1.3 million deficit at this point in time is not a bad result. It's not obviously not a result that we want. We want to be in a surplus, but I think when you overlay the challenges of the cost of materials and then the challenges of the deficiency in our workforce, you know, not being able to employ the 130, fill the 135 vacant positions, it just adds extra complexities to what the officers need to manage on a daily basis.
Correct. Speaker against? Any other speakers? I'll put that motion. Those in favour? Against? Motion is carried unanimously. 11.6.2, the final management report for the Mackay Regional Council 2022-23 financial year. This is it needs to be tabled at council for council's information. This is the result of the final audit, of course, of MRC's financial statements, and it's prepared externally and delivered by the Queensland Audit Office. Are there questions at all? No questions? Anything else you need to add, Director? Sorry, Councillor Jones, you've got a question?
Yes, thank you, Worship. I just wanted to say that it's good to see that improvements have been made, particularly on page 421 where we have the appendix, and it only shows that there were 3 improvements that needed to occur and that 2 of them have already been achieved. I just wanted to double check that as far as the final sign-off on completed plans and the required engineering documentation being obtained on a timely basis, are we on track for the July 2024 as it's suggested?
Director.
Yeah, thank you, Your Worship. This is an ongoing priority for us. We have teams coming together across council on a monthly basis to track our progress and to make sure that we are on track. For now, we've made actually phenomenal progress over the last 12 months on this one, so I'm actually really happy with where we're positioned.
Excellent, thank you.
It was actually raised at the last Audit and Risk Advisory Committee meeting, so good question, Councillor Jones. Thanks very much. Any further questions? Somebody like to move the report's adoption? Councillor May moves, seconded by Councillor Townsend. Councillor May.
I really think, you know, to back up what the Director said, and it's investigated thoroughly through the audit process. The work in progress part of Council's business is challenging, to say the least. We have numerous projects on the go, and being able to capture that data and capture the correct plans and get all of that reconciled is no easy feat. And I know that the team have been working extremely hard to progress through that work in progress. So I think to have a goal of trying to be at a good place at the end of June 2024 is a reasonable expectation, and it's great to see that the audit was successful.
Thank you very much, Councillor May. Speaker against? Any other speakers? No other speakers? I'll put that motion. Then those in favour? Any against? The motion's carried unanimously. Thank you. 11.6.3 is a new lease, the Brownsley Sports and Entertainment at Illarong Drive, South Mackay. It's self-explanatory. Is there anything further, Director, that you need to understand? Questions? Somebody like to move? Councillor Englert moves, seconded by Councillor May. Councillor Englert.
Thank you, Worship. New lease, but the current occupier, Browning Sport and Entertainment, has been on the site since 2014. They currently run the City Beach Volleyball and have about 80 teams registered, made up of 120 players, and they have hosted up to 124 teams before. It's a great community facility, and continuation of this lease would be the most advantageous outcome for council and ratepayers.
Thank you very much, Councillor Englert. Speaker against? Any other speakers? I'll put that motion. Those in favour? Any against? The motion's carried unanimously. Thank you. There's no petitions. Our tenders.
on veteran support.
So there is. Okay. So here. Missing a tab. Ah. The new list of Mackay Veteran Support Group at 2 Leisure Street in South Mackay. Once again, fairly well self-explanatory, this one I'd say. Any questions? Somebody like to move? Councillor Jones moves, second by Councillor Townsend. Councillor Jones.
Thank you, Worship. Look, our local veterans group have been really good tenants over the years, and they do play a vital role for our servicemen and women in the community, and this place is really so much more than just a meeting place where activities are held. They do things like the DVA claims, assist our veterans with that. They do hospital visits, and the advocacy is really, really important for those servicemen and women. So it's important that we continue this opportunity for release, and I know that they'd be very appreciative of it. Thank you.
Thanks very much, Councillor Jones. Speaker against? Are there any other speakers? I'll put that motion. Those in favour? Any against? The motion's carried unanimously. All right, now there's no petitions. We have a tender presented for approval today for the Bloomsbury Water Pipeline. Is tender 66-60405. Director, is there anything further?
Fairly self-explanatory, Your Worship. The tender is for the new pipeline between Mitch Point and Bloomsbury, and also involves some major storage and pumping associated with that infrastructure. It will obviously service the Bloomsbury community, but also all the properties along the way between those two communities. So in this particular case, we're coming to council because it's additional funds that are being sought, and they won't be affecting this year's financial position. It's being sought for the 24-25 financial year. So looking to award that project as soon as we can and starting in the new year.
Thank you. Questions? No? Councillor England has a question.
I'm pretty sure I know the answer. It's an opt-in service, this one, isn't it? Yeah.
Well, it is, but just explain that as how it works, the opt-in service. That's probably comes under water more than anything.
Yeah, through Your Worship, yeah. So we've obviously made contact, we've had sessions with all property owners there, so there's an opt-in opportunity. It still exists at the moment, a provisional item in terms of the contract, but obviously we'd like to get that sorted as soon as possible with the contract board, so not having any changes.
Thank you, Director. Further questions? No further, Councillor May.
Just to follow on from that, so will we be putting a cut-off point time frame in that? I think you can't leave that open-ended, I wouldn't think.
Yeah, I don't want to expand on this too much because
No.
it's nothing to do with the contract. But the Director can answer that.
Yeah, through Your Worship, yeah, I certainly think once this is probably the last point in opportunity for people to opt in once we award the contract, we'll knock that all down from that point on.
All right. Thank you. No further questions?
Well, just in relation to that, I did have a phone call only Monday in relation to whether that was still available. So provided I get back to the gentleman, ask him to contact.
It is, yes. But once we start the contract, it'll be very difficult, I'm sure. Over the course of the contract, you can probably do it once it's done.
Oh yeah, no, once it's, yeah, no. All right, thank you.
Yeah, Your Worship, if I may, yes, you can still opt in up to the time the contract starts, and the way the contract's set up is that there's a fixed lump sum portion of the contract, but there's also the remeasurable portion, and that remeasurable relates to what you're talking about, that people can opt into that.
All right. Somebody like to move the report be adopted? Councillor England moves, seconded by Councillor Townsend. Councillor England.
Thank you, Your Worship. This is a $5.5 million contract that's been awarded to Utelstra Proprietary Limited. It's demonstrated the best value for money, and it's for the installation of that pipe storage tank and booster pump.
Thank you very much. Speaker against? Any other speakers? Councillor Ballard speaking for.
I'm very glad to see this going ahead. As someone who's pretty much always lived in a rural setting since returning here, the access to a reliable water supply is absolutely essential. As anyone knows that's dealt with bores, bores can have changes in quality, changes in output, they can go dry. Trying to live on a tank, especially if you've got fire considerations, is problematic to say the least, and costly. So this gives residents of that area an opportunity to access water that will be of, I believe, higher quality than what they currently have. They will have greater access to water than what they currently have. I think it's a pretty much a win for residents there. And the best part is they have the option of deciding whether they wish to use this or not. So it's a wonderful thing to see service that people take for granted in our urban areas being provided to people in our outskirts.
Thanks, Councillor Bella. Any further speakers? I'll put that motion. Those in favour? Any against? Motion is carried unanimously. 14.1 is a notified motion.
You got another tender.
Oh, gee. Right. Just come ahead on myself. There's another tender. Okay, 13.2 is the tender 1651-861 for a bus stop upgrade program. Director, is there anything further?
Yeah, it's fairly self-explanatory, Your Worship. This is funded. In fact, there's two forms of funding for this project, and what we're seeking here is the difference between the preferred tender price and that funding of $1 million that we receive.
Any questions at all? Sorry, Councillor Bonaventure.
Just how many bus stops, Director, is that? You know,
I think in this one, and I'll have to come back to Council, Your Worship, I think there's 21 in this package, but it does vary based on our negotiations with the funders. So we obviously have a large program for delivery each year. There's about 21 in this particular package.
Sounds great. Thank you.
Further questions? What's adoption? Councillor Jones moves, seconded by Councillor Engler. Councillor Jones.
Thank you, Worship. I've recently had some discussions with residents in the region about bus stops, and this upgrade program has come at a timely moment. So bus stops are very much overlooked, but are a very vital piece of infrastructure for our school children and our seniors who use these bus services in the region. So the tender being awarded to C4 Civil as a local contractor is really the most advantageous outcome and demonstrates the value for money for ratepayers for $1.4 million.
Thanks very much, Councillor Jones. Speaker against? Are there any other speakers? I'll put that motion. Those in favour? Any against? Motion is carried unanimously. Thank you. All right, now 14.1, the notified motion presented to Council by Councillors Bella, Bonaventura and Seymour. And I note that by email this morning there was a further addition to the motion itself, further that councillors are briefed before the end of this term on the proposed operating guideline to see if there are any further suggestions which could be considered. I'm happy to accept that at this stage because it doesn't really change, in my view, the motion itself. Except CEO, have you got a view on that?
It can certainly be accepted, yes. My only comment I'd make for broader consideration, I guess, is to avoid repetitious briefings with what is essentially an outgoing council with no certainty of a new council. I'd question the desire of this council to be involved in setting a direction for what could be a future council. With that said, I am happy to provide a fundamental framework and will do so in March. In the first week.
All right, so we'll accept that and that will become the motion. Yeah. All right, so who's moving?
I just want to question, first week of March, how is that? Is that a briefing or is that?
That'll be via a briefing, yeah. So to set, it would be inappropriate for this council to endorse the terms of reference for a future council. So by this council, I'll give a briefing to overlay the proposed fundamental brief how it will work, but I won't be requiring any actual direction from this council about the future of the next council.
Understood, but when does that come to current council to understand what plan
in the first week of March? So you're still a councillor until March the 16th. In the first week of March, I'll brief this council as to my intention for the new council. Then when the new council starts, I'll seek direction as to whether that is indeed the way forward, and we'll agree on that unanimously as the new council in April.
Thank you.
So who moves? Councillor Bella's moving. Seconder? Councillor Bonaventura. Councillor Bella.
reason I've moved this motion is that 4 years ago we were promised areas of interest or areas of responsibility, and in 4 years nothing has eventuated. Now, rightly or wrongly, what that has led to is confusion, I believe. It's led to duplication and waste of resource. Some things get looked at by all 10 councillors, other things get looked at by none. As I've said here, it also provides a clear pathway for residents to know who has, what would you say, a deeper knowledge of certain areas than others. It's a way for us, or would have been a way for us, to have focused our activities in a certain area. What I'm trying to do is to ensure that the next council has something provided to them very early in their term, and that they don't have to wait 4 years for basically any idea of what their specific responsibility is. This is not telling the new council how they should operate. This is to provide something that can be presented to them basically on day dot, that they can then decide, as the CEO stated, whether they go ahead with that. But it's just to make sure that we're on the blocks for the next council, and if all or none of us are here, we can be quite sure that they will probably not face the same issues as we've faced with the problems that I previously stated.
Thank you. You speaker against? Councillor Green, speaking against.
Yes, thank you. Councillors, I'd like to draw your attention to page 3 through 7. So we have just endorsed in this meeting the report 11.1.6 operational plan, the quarterly report. It's clearly stated in there that we're ahead of target with the strategic framework developed for pre-2024 election that supports alignment of councillors with appropriate areas of focus related to external community entities, committees and involvement as per what the CEO has just said. So this report is unnecessary. It's a moot point based on what I've just said. This work is already well underway. We don't need it to ask for it to be started. And further to my second point, that and carrying on from the CEO's point, it is inappropriate for this council to decide how the incoming council will operate. It's not our business. That's for the new mayor and councillors to decide and workshop with the CEO in the new term. Furthermore, I would like to make it known that the statements in this report are not reflective of how I feel or my experience of being a councillor in this last term. I've had purpose, I've had direction, I've enjoyed that purpose and direction, and I've had no confusion as to what my role as a councillor is whatsoever. I've also not had confusion from residents. They've found me through word of mouth, they've found me through the work that I do, and they've also found me through my biography on the webpage, and they often say, I've read your biography and this is why I've reached out to you, because I feel that I resonate with you. So I don't feel that that actually is reflective of the statement that there's been confusion reigning within and without this council this term. Further to that point, councillors that have felt this way have had 4 years to address this. You could have addressed this 4 years ago, 3 years ago, 2 years ago, even 1 year ago, if you felt that there was such a problem that was causing such issues within and without of this council. I don't see why waiting until the 11th hour to put this onto the new council is is within your responsibilities, basically. So for those reasons, I just think that this is, in my opinion, nothing more than political grandstanding, and would ask councillors to leave that for the election and not
Point of order on that, please.
There's no point of order, but you should not be using those sorts of languages at this stage.
I'd ask for a retraction on that, please.
We won't.
And an apology.
And
an apology.
No, there's no need to apologise, Councillor.
Well, if it's necessary to
Thank you very
retract,
much. Thank
it's
you very much.
necessary for an apology.
Well, there's no need for an apology in my view. Thank you. Speaker 4. Councillor Singh.
Yeah, to me, this is, it's not actually grandstanding or nothing like that. I think in this council now, there's only one position that is internal to a point, is on lawmaking. And it reports on the rubbish. A lot of it is, we're here to do a purpose. All we're asking for is probably more, not input, but more direction on how this council should, or what projects are up and coming, and to say that, you know, we like or what we can do about these projects, or any input. What Councillor Bella is saying is right. You know, there used to be portfolios in this council previous, and all of this is going back to a way that councillors have more, not input, no control, but can understand and report back to their fellow councillors on concerns.
Thanks, Councillor Seymour. Speaker against. Councillor May.
Yeah, thank you very much, Worship. I don't know about anybody else. In my experience in local government over the last 20 years, I'm very clear in my role, what my job is, what I need to be doing for my community. I don't need a guideline, I don't need a portfolio. We had standing committees, we tried that, councillors didn't want that. So I'm not really sure what it is we're actually asking for here. It's clearly set out in the Local Government Act, the role of a councillor. It's up to you what you make of that role. You as the individual person that gets elected by the people, it's up to you to make that your role, how you go about that, how you interact with council, as in the business of council, is clearly set out in the Local Government Act as well, and we do not want to be meddling in the operations of the council. Yes, we need to see the reports, we need to be updated on the operations, but we don't need to be meddling in the operations. And if I remember back when we had portfolios, that's exactly what was happening. We were way too deep into the operations of the council, and that's why the change was made to have the standing committees, because that was a clear structure, again, legally under the Local Government Act, which gave a clear direction of where councillors could be involved. But for the foremost, our job is with the community. It's interacting on a daily basis with community, being part of committees, being part of community-based organisations, assisting where we can in the community, answering the customer concerns, our ratepayers' concerns, and reporting back to them. It's pretty clear. Don't want to waste council resources on something, setting a future direction for people that may not even be around this table.
Thanks,
So I will not be supporting the motion.
Thanks, Councillor May. Speaker 4, Councillor Bonmatcher.
And sorry, Councillor May, just going on what Councillor Green said earlier, it's already in the CEO's Act that he is going to start preparing something for that, so it's going to happen anyway. What I say is it's important that this be there in preparation for that next council when they start. And that's all we're trying to achieve. Yes, it should have been done 4 years ago. It should have been done 3 years ago. We kept on waiting for this to happen and it hasn't happened. So just to prevent it going into the new term and people saying, well, let's just wait a little while, see what we do, before you know it, a year's gone. So this is just to try and ensure that something is going to show up at that first meeting of that new council. But I also want to say the reverse side of this is equally important, and that is for staff to have an ability to talk to a councillor who's got an understanding of a certain area. And the example can be back to fine-tuning local laws. And back in the first term, that was what I was in relation to local laws. And the ability for that director to say, how do you think the community will react on this? And then my ability to go back to councillors, because I understood what they were trying to do, because I read through the draft documents before it all came to council. So I get an understanding. I'm able to deliver that to my fellow councillors, to give them an understanding and tell them what important bits they maybe need to read, bits I'm not confident with that I think maybe need further explanation. That all happens before it comes here for the big decision making. It is a lot better to have that ability for our staff as well as our councillors. Thank you.
Speaker against. Any other speakers? Councillor Ballard, you can wrap up when you finish. But Councillor Jones.
Thank you, Worship. I appreciate that the CEO has taken the lengths on page 337 to make that commitment for the future council. I don't see this motion as giving any direction whatsoever to anybody in the future. What I see is a briefing prior to the end of the year. We just give current councillors an opportunity to actually express how things have affected them, good or bad, within the last 4 years. Every councillor around this table operates differently. So that's the key thing for me. I have been a portfolio councillor as Councillor Bonaventura has, and in that 4 years there were no issues with portfolios. That council felt that portfolios worked fine for them. So at the end of the day, I'm supporting the motion. I support what the CEO is trying to do. I think that moving forward for the new council, whoever that may be, should understand fully what options are before them, and I just feel that this council can particularly give maybe some information to the CEO so that he can then consider that for those future options for the future council. Thank you, Your Worship.
Councillor Bello, do you wish to? Sorry, Councillor Bello. Councillor Green, we've probably got about a minute left.
Yep, thank you. So just very quickly, I've also worked under both platforms. I'm not here to debate either. I think there's pros and cons to both. We're not here for that. We're here, to what I say once again is a moot point. The work is already underway that this is asking for, and again, it is not our place to be directing what we think the future council should be doing. So again, this report is a moot point. There's no need to carry it any further. One last point. Over 1 year ago, the acting CEO was approached by these councillors to look into portfolios. From my understanding, quite a lot of time and resource was put to that, and councillors chose not to go any further. So you did take that opportunity and you didn't do anything further with it other than waste time and resources. Thank you.
Councillor Ballard, do you want to wrap up?
Yeah, I'd like to. I'd like to clear up just a few errors, inaccuracies, downright wrong-headedness. First of all, for new councillors, especially if there's a majority of new councillors, which is a possibility, the ability to cover the whole of council, as any councillor can remember back when they first come in, is difficult. To follow a certain amount or a certain section, become, I use the term expert loosely, and have someone else take after those other areas until such time as you can expand your knowledge, would be very beneficial to new councillors. But let's actually go to the main point in this. This is not to tell new councillors how to do it. This is to have something there for them to consider, as I clearly stated and as the CEO clearly stated, for them to have something to consider as an operating model. They have the right to say yes or no. I just wanted to have it there, make the meal, put it in front of them, they can decide whether they eat or not, quite simply. And as far as not having asked, we asked many, many times, as our executive officer can attest to, and indeed our CEO can attest to, and even more, as the Mayor can attest to. I'll leave it at that.
Thank you, Councillor. All right, I'll put the motion, but I caution you that this is in our operational plan. It's also the subject of the strategic briefings that have come from LGAQ on what the government expects of councils today in terms of strategic outcomes. I understand the motion, but you just need to think about all of that. So I'll put that motion. Those in favour? Those against? Okay, the motion is carried, and there are 4 registering a vote against. Thank you. All right. Well, that's it. We have some confidential reports to consider. Oh, sorry, there is public participation. We have one. Let's go. Where are you, Maxine? Thank you very much for registering to talk today. The rules of engagement are that this is a 3-minute address to council by you. This is not a two-way participation, and if anything should come out of it, the CEO will come back to you. Thank you very much, Maxine, and over to you. You've got 3 minutes.
Good morning, everyone. My subject is dangerous dogs. They live among us and roam free among us. They also menace and attack us and our precious animals. Maybe some of you know about the following incident. One of our Havana rural firefighters' dogs was attacked about a month ago. He had a pair of very much loved pedigreed white German Shepherds. A dog broke straight through a sturdy wooden fence and tore the 40-kilogram male to pieces. The suspect dog is a neighbour's ban dog. That's a crossbreed Mastiff Bull Terrier, the same crossbreed that killed the Brisbane meter reader last December. I understand a local government or council officer can inspect and declare a dog to be dangerous or menacing. In this case, the dog owner denied council access to the dog. It seems council has the power for this access, but did not insist. The neighbour admits it was his ban dog, but it's not enough proof for council. I can't imagine why. This dog has a history of stalking a young girl going to the mailbox. Do we have to wait until a child's face is torn off? This dog is not securely contained and is still at large. New legislation bans 5 breeds of dangerous dogs, only a tip of the iceberg. Dangerous crossbreeds are not included and are being rapidly bred to avoid the legislation. And we all know that many different breeds of dogs can be savage. Of course, none of this addresses the elusive problem of proof. No one wants the wrong dog identified, but we don't have CCTV and we don't wear body cameras. So the suspected dog is still free to roam. I believe this difficulty and inability to provide photographic proof does not serve the needs of our community. Perhaps the only other irrefutable proof is DNA testing. So I'm suggesting that this should be included in the legislation. The cost allocated to the proven dangerous dog owner. In closing, I'm hoping in future, when an incident is reported, the council can fully investigate and evaluate a dog, ensure a secure compound is erected and a council sign on the gate as per the legislation to help keep us all safe. I'm sure you have read the emails that Councillor Bonaventura has provided, where no doubt you saw the details of another dog attack, plus that I've had 2 dangerous dog incidents on my own small acreage. I thank you for your time.
Thanks, Ms. Godley. Thanks very much. The CEO will follow up with you. We are right across this particular incident and horrifying. So, CEO, we'll follow that through with the director. Thanks very much. That's the only registered address today. So, ladies and gentlemen, we have some confidential reports to consider if the council wants to go into confidence. Is there any reason to? Okay, so there's no reason. We'll consider these confidential reports. So, 17.1 is the approved sponsorship under the Invest Mackay Conference Attraction Program for October 2023. Would somebody like to move the adoption? Councillor Hassan moves, seconded by Councillor England. Those in favour? Any against? Motion's carried. 17.2 is the draft minutes of the Invest Mackay Events and Conference Attraction Program Advisory Committee on the 3rd of October. Somebody like to move? Councillor May moves, seconded by Councillor England. Those in favour? Any against? Motion's carried unanimously. And finally, the 17.3, the approved concessions under the Facilitating Development of Mackay Regional Policy for October 2023. Somebody like to move? Councillor England moves, seconded by Councillor Townsend. Those in favour? Any against? The motion is carried. Not too fast for you.
It's a bit late to be here.
Okay, thanks very much, councillors. Thanks very much, CEO and directors. And well done. Declare the meeting closed.